Welcome and welcome back to those who have been here before to Cat Scratch Kitchen. I'm Terry. Today we're going to go back to one of those basic building blocks that's so handy to have on hand and you can use multiple ways. We're going to put together some Italian sausage. Okay, first we're going to start out with a pound of ground pork. This is coarsely ground pork, and we want to just break it up a little bit so that we can put all of the spices on top of it. To that we're going to add a tablespoon of finely minced garlic or jarred garlic, a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. We need a teaspoon of fennel seeds. They taste better if we toast them a little bit first, so I'm going to put them in this small skillet and let them toast while I gather the rest of the spices together. And I'm going to put them in my spice grinder because in the end the fennel seeds need to be crushed. If you don't have a spice grinder, of course you can use like a rolling pin and crush them roughly with that. But I like my thyme and rosemary broken up a little bit too, so I'm just going to put everything in my spice grinder and we'll give it a couple of zaps when they're all in there. So we're going to add a tablespoon of finely chopped fresh or dried parsley, a tablespoon of paprika, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1½ teaspoons of coarsely ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes if you want a hot sausage. If you want a mild sausage, you can leave it out completely. In fact, if you want a sweet Italian sausage, you might want to add a teaspoon to a tablespoon of brown sugar right now. I'm going to add just a pinch of red pepper flakes, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried rosemary, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried oregano, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground sage. And now I'm going to bring my toasted fennel seeds over and we're going to add that in as well. Now we're going to close it up and we're just going to give our spice grinder 2 or 3 zaps, just enough to coarsely grind it. Now we're going to add all of our spices to our ground meat, and I'm using gloves just because I'm handling raw meat. If you have a stand mixer, and especially if you're making more than 1 pound at a time, you can use your stand mixer with a paddle attachment to thoroughly combine the ingredients. I'm going to just use my hands. We want to make sure that we totally mix it, get all the spices all the way through, thoroughly combined. Once everything's combined, I use some plastic wrap to wrap and chill it for at least 6 hours before you use it, preferably overnight. That way you get the best flavor because all the spices soak into the pork. This makes a pound of Italian sausage. You can keep it in the fridge for up to 3 days, or it can be frozen. If you're going to freeze it, I would wrap it twice, and you freeze it for up to 3 months. So that's this week's recipe. I hope you enjoyed it, and that you take a second, like and subscribe. The recipe is going to be right below the like button, and we'll have all the ingredient measurements there as well. Be sure and check next week. We'll have a recipe using this basic building block recipe that we made today. Until then, have fun in the kitchen.